Yeah, there's a lot of bargain shoppers out there now that thinking that this
Yeah,
want to catch that falling knife.
I think it's premature. I think we got a lot of downside still, but you know,
Well, we've had so much upside. Yeah,
yeah,
that if you're looking longer, well, even intermediate, midterm, middle term, um, the gains are so big that we haven't really seen a correction. So that supports your argument.
if you're down 10%, people think it's a great opportunity to buy, but you could be down 40%.
It just happens to be happening at a time when the economy is contracting and the yield curve is flattening. You notice that? The curve
Yeah,
is flattening.
yeah.
And we've been watching it steepen for 2 years now, and now it's flattening. In fact, more than 2 years. And now it's flattening. The curve is to me, the curve rules all the.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Markets and Madness, the place where we like to discuss the madness that occurs when economics, politics, and personalities all move in different directions. This morning, quickly, I'm going to ask again, new subscribers, if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, let us know you're interested. We've gotten a lot of comments, we've gotten a lot of new viewers, and we appreciate everything you say and do. Just ask for more subscribers. So with that said, it's Tim and I today. I know we had a couple of good guests last week. Alex from Catalyst Futures, Steve, ex-JP Morgan, global EFX manager. And this today it's Tim and I, so we're just reviewing what's gone on. How are you this morning, Tim?
I'm good, Fred. How are you today?
Good. What's on your list first thing this morning?
I wake up and I see gold has broken out. It's in the stratosphere. That's worth talking about. Um, Israel has now attacked Hamas. Hamas, apparently, according to what I've read, didn't agree to the release of all the hostages. So Israel has had enough.
And
Who
you had
knows
over the
where?
weekend, U.S.
Who
and
knows? Yeah,
okay.
who knows where Putin and Zelensky are sitting? They
The
both
U.S.
got.
and the Houthis too over the weekend. That was a big thing, right?
That's true. Yeah, right. That's long overdue, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, there's certainly a lot of turmoil, and I guess gold is the recipient. I was talking to someone yesterday, Bruce, someone that we know and love, and his point was and I thought this was interesting, but I guess with all the political factors, it doesn't have much weight now. With all of, if you go back and look at when gold was breaking 2,000, it took a long time to finally take it out. It would back and fill and back and fill and back and fill. And his point was this is an opportunity for silver to catch up. You know, if gold
Yeah,
was going to stick at 3,000, but it seems like we're going through that now.
everybody I value is very bullish on silver, has been for quite a while, and it hasn't caught up. And it's an economic metal as well. So
Hmm.
maybe that's the depressant. I don't know.
And I'm
Really
playing
don't know much
silver.
about it.
I'm playing silver through options. I've had them for a couple of years. I think I bought like 2-year options with an $18 strike for SLV. And in January when it was 30 or 27 or 28 or something like that, I sold those out and I bought some 1-year 33 calls. Low
Where
delta.
is SLV now?
SLV is I want to say 31, 30 and a half, something like that. So could it go to 50? Why not? I mean, 2 years ago I think it was in the teens. So
There's all kinds of arguments about silver. Poor man's gold. I hear that every week.
yeah, so I think playing it from a low delta, long dated option position is um, is a better solution than trying to be long silver because it does back and fill, back and fill.
I read an article. Um, I have a friend, a good friend, who's a gold bug, and he's been a gold bug pretty much all his life. And he buys a lot of spot cash gold. And when he needs money, he takes a coin and gets it. So he goes to the bank basically by selling a gold coin when he needs a
Right,
couple of grand.
that's his ETN machine. Right.
And he's been very bullish on silver for a while, which is not surprising because he's bullish on gold all the time. So he follows that ratio, and he says silver really could catch up. And pretty much everybody I talk to seems to love it. So I don't.
And so, aside from the political war torn turmoil that's affecting gold, what else do you think is out there?
Well, I read an article, and I don't know if the article is accurate, but if it is, there's there's a big play here. What the article? Uh, I don't know how much our viewers know about the cash to futures function on commodities markets, the basis. But basically, according to what I've read, the U.S. Treasury has permitted its gold to be lent out and receives an interest rate on the gold, basically a repo function, repurchase. So if you're a bullion house and you're selling gold, maybe you're selling it short, and you need to borrow gold to deliver, so you borrow it, and gold keeps going up and you have it covered. And that's the gist of the article, that a lot of bullion banks have done that, and they're caught short. And now, with an audit in the U.S. Treasury, we're trying to get back the gold that we lent out. And they don't have it. So they got to come into the cash markets and cover.
The Treasury or the people who shorted it?
People, the bullion banks. So the article was suggesting that there's a scramble to cover these shorts at these new levels. And this is basically a short squeeze.
Okay. Okay. I was going to say that, yeah, that makes sense because then what you'll see is instead of making delivery, you just have to cover your shorts and
You've already made delivery with gold you don't own, with gold you
okay.
borrowed.
But why didn't? Okay.
So now you've got to give back the gold that you borrowed.
I'm just thinking like in terms of options. If you're short an option, you have to deliver. You have two options. You either deliver, buy the physical stock and deliver, or else cover your short option position.
It's the same as the futures
Right.
market, really.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
still a short squeeze, any way you look at it.
Yeah.
And that's the gist of the article. Now, if that is so, and I'm not saying it is, but who knows, maybe it is. So if it's true, the bullion banks have been funded. And this is an argument for our friends' private equity argument. Who's been providing credit to these bullion banks? The banking system or the private equity markets? And that's really where every time now we see a sector under pressure, we're going to point to the private equity markets and say, do they feel it? Because you don't really see that. You see the bank spreads.
Right. It's not transparent at all. And did you see yesterday UBS upgraded BlackRock, Blackstone
Did.
BX, basically saying it was a good entry point. So not that the fundamental is just that it's come down so much, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And people bought it with both hands. It was up $6 in a day or something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of bargain shoppers out there now that thinking that
Yeah.
want to catch that falling knife.
I think it's premature. I think we got a lot of downside still, but you know,
Well, we've had so much upside. Yeah, that if you're looking longer, well, even intermediate, midterm, middle term, um, the gains are so big that we haven't really seen a correction.
right,
So that supports your
right.
argument.
If you're down 10%, people think it's a great opportunity to buy, but you could be down 40%.
It just happens to be happening at a time when the economy is contracting and the yield curve is flattening. You notice that? The curve is flattening.
Yeah,
And we've been watching it steepen for 2 years now.
yeah.
And now it's flattening. In fact, more than 2 years. Now it's flattening. The curve is to me, the curve rules all the markets.
Yeah, it always has. Yeah.
So we got war breaking out all over the place. Hopefully, that'll change in the Ukraine. But the Israelis are making a pretty major move here. And gold is maybe responding to that. Maybe there's a short squeeze in gold. It might be technical in nature. But the dollar is still holding.
Dollar's weakening again. Euro above 109. I think the euro's on its way to the 52-week highs above 112.
Okay, we haven't seen a collapse though. And
No,
all the tariff talk and all of that,
but
yeah.
we've had a 6% move in the euro. I mean, back after the election, we were down at 102, and now we're at 109. So,
Again, similar to a gold correction, right? I mean,
yeah,
based on the gains we've seen, it's not that big a move.
um,
Well, 6% is
6%.
nothing to
If
sneeze
you
at.
consider that the 52-week range was 102 to 112, and we were at 102, and now we're at 109, I think it's certainly
Yeah, I guess I can't dispute that.
taking a big move back. It's still it's the dollar. It's not Eli Lilly.
I guess you're right because I have looked at the dollar and ignored the way I used to look at the dollar. I'm looking at the dollar now as a relative inflation play or relative money supply play more accurately between central banks. This central bank eases, their currency goes down. This central bank tightens, their currency goes up. That's the way I view it now. So I see it as a relative play amongst central bank activity as opposed to capital flows. We saw capital flows when Trump was elected. I think that, or really pre-Trump, buy the rumor, sell the news.
Yep.
And I think that's what drove the move to 102.
Yep.
So
Yeah, we
we're
had a lot
taking
of
some of
guests
that
on that.
away.
We had a lot of guests on that. We're very bullish of the dollar because of that. It's going to see huge influx,
I
and
don't think you've seen it yet,
we've
you
seen
know?
big commitments, but we haven't seen the actual money coming in yet.
Well, I'll put it into, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm really providing some analysis to it. I would put it in our economic predictions as well. We see a slowdown, a trough, a 3 to 6 month slowdown, and I put the dollar move along that. So we're not going to see the dollar rally big until after we're out of the trough, and then the capital flows will drive everything.
It's funny you say that. I remember, I guess it was late 80s, early 90s. I was driving into work with Jimmy, and we used to pass the strip mall every day. And when we first started driving in, it was thriving. There's 15, 18 stores in the strip mall, and it was and then all of a sudden, one by one, it started to this store closed and that store closed, and it was like 5 of the 15 stores that were open. And Jimmy and I were talking about the dollar on the way in one morning. I said, you know what? When that strip mall is full, that's when I'm going to start being bullish on the dollar again. So it's the same premise. When we haven't gotten into the recession yet, but when we're coming out, that's when you're going to want to be long the dollar.
That sounds like the guys I used to ride the Staten Island ferry with. If the pigeons flew or the seagulls flew to the left side of the boat, they would buy the dollar. If it flew to the right side, yeah, yeah. There's a certain air of validity to that.
That's right. Equity
Um,
markets, we still see back and fill down 600, up 600. Still, I think gamma rules in this. If you're an options player and you're trading the underlying against your option position, you're doing very well because nothing, you can't price in 600-point moves in the Dow, and still not participate properly. I don't know. I still think the Bears are going to win. I still think we're going to have a big flush to the downside, but the market keeps coming back. I can't deny it. There's still great opportunities to buy it and sell it, I guess.
this is the tape bomb world, where one news alert changes everything. We're still there. You got to be on the lookout now for a couple of bankruptcies. You know, and Warren Buffett once said, "When the tide goes out, you can see who's been swimming naked." So we haven't seen a flush, but if you see a flush in the market, if you see this market go down 10, 15%, which, based on the gains, that's a realistic move. I'm not predicting it, but I could see another 8%, you know, on the way to 10 before the falling knife buyers come in again. Um, yeah, it's time to be careful. It still is. And we got this trough ahead of us. All of the layoffs are still ahead of us here. Let's not lose sight of that. You take a knife to the employment numbers and you start to lay off big public sector jobs. Those people are going to be, here's my prediction. it's March, right? We're in spring now. You get laid off in May. You get 6 months severance. You say, you know what, I'm going to take the summer off and then start looking for a job. So there's going to be a fair amount of that. Not everybody, but once you've lost your job, the contractor that you used to support, he lost his job too. The guy who cuts the lawn, he lost his job. So, we're going to see a slowdown here. And the question on the table, I think, is are we priced for a slowdown? Is this market priced for a slowdown? And nobody really knows that. And here's where the tape bombs come in. We're priced for a slowdown, and all of a sudden Musk says, "All right, I saved you $800 billion. You're going to find $5 grand in your Social Security account or in your bank account from the government." It's like the Biden's checks for
Yeah. Yeah, the COVID checks.
COVID checks. Yeah, I think you might see that. For the earlier argument, that's going to replace Fed stimulus.
Yeah.
Is it a good thing? Yeah, it's a great thing because it's fiscal stimulus. We're not printing money to give it out. We're saving money to give it out. So, yeah, so it has a
It's
net,
already been earmarked. Yeah.
yeah, it has a net neutral effect and maybe a positive effect, but you won't have to pay for it in the future
Right.
like you will in a change of money supply. So I'm for fiscal stimulus more than monetary stimulus. I think you got a fiscal depressant with all of these job cuts, and that thus the trough. So we got a period here where we're going to have to shelter in, put our hands over our heads, and hold on for falling debris.
I was talking to a couple of I guess you would call them liberal friends, left of center, anti-Trump to a certain degree people, and both very impressed with the Trump cabinet. More Bessent and Rubio than anyone else, and I was quite surprised, that these people came out as positive on Bessent and Rubio as I was, because they've been on the other side of the aisle. So I thought that was very interesting. He's winning some people over.
I find that astonishing. I think the poison is so rabid that just, we got on either side of the aisle, right or left, you got 20% of the people who just fail to even acknowledge that there is another side. They just won't take it and analyze the arguments. But you talk about Rubio. Rubio responded to a reporter the other day in the most articulate fashion that I've ever heard a Secretary of State since Baker. Rubio just eviscerated this guy. The guy really didn't expect an answer. Rubio said, "Oh, I'll give you an answer." And the answer he gave him just knocked me out. It was, I think it was about immigration and how he said, green card. This is what the green card says. Read the card, and this is really what it says. And it says you're a guest, and you can't do this, you can't do that. And we're just acknowledging that, and I think that's the time. Where my head goes sometimes, I go to a Star Trek episode where the Enterprise landed, and all of these people are running around wearing togas. They're all these beautiful people, and they don't know how to plant or farm or anything. And the creators created this computer that did all that, and they're just nodding their heads and saying, "No, it's beautiful," And Kirk is going, "You got to fix this. You got a problem here." And I think we're there. I think we've got a piece of this society that has just wandered along aimlessly and said, "Yeah, the government can just print the money and everything's fine." And now we have to fund that. You go to any businessman and you say, "How's your business doing?" And you got two guys. And one guy, the business is starting to go bad, and he says, "Well, sales are down a little bit, but we're gonna." And then you go to another guy and says, look, I'm busy. I got 5 calls here. I got 5 bankers on. I got to meet payments and I got cash flow problems. The guy with the cash flow problems is aware. The other guy with the sales problem, he's got a problem in the future. He's waiting for the sales flow, for the cash flow problem to hit. We're in the cash flow problem. Once the interest rate on the debt went up to $1 trillion, that's the cash flow problem.
Right, right, right. It's certainly true. It's certainly true. But getting back to Rubio, and you're talking about his answer, talking to this one guy who was impressed with Rubio specifically. He says, "Do you remember when Rubio gave I guess it was the rebuttal stated
He
he gave?"
drank a glass of water.
Yeah, and he said the hands were shaking. He said he's so much more calm now. He said he's the next president. He said forget Vance. Rubio is going to be the one that's very commanding now. And I thought that's very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Marie said the same thing.
Yeah,
She listened to Rubio and said, "This guy could be next." And if you look at him, I mean, I would vote for him, Vivek, or Vance. You know,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, Vance saying to that reporter, was it Martha? What's her face? He said, "Do you hear yourself?" That to me, that was the best rebuttal I've ever heard a spokesman say.
This was about the takeover of the. It's only one apartment complex in
Yeah,
Colorado.
exactly. And he
It's
said,
only one.
do you hear yourself? Do you know what you're saying?" Vance really struck a chord in me then. You know, Rubio too, I got to admit. The primaries are going to be great in 4 years.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting
What do you
one.
think of this judge who called back the plane load of Venezuelans?
How do you justify it? I mean, what's his grounds? What rights do these people have?
According to the judge, he violated their civil rights. These are human rights. These are humanists.
Human rights. Yeah,
Yeah, these are humanists.
not civil rights. Human
Yeah,
rights.
yeah. Forget what the green card said, and forget that they didn't even have a green card. None of that. None of that is important to this guy.
Yeah, it's
I think public opinion now has changed so drastically that that this judge has no standing in public opinion whatsoever.
yeah, and
Maybe that 20% crazies, you know.
I see Trump's approval ratings are way up.
Yeah, but his unfavorables are climbing.
Yeah, I didn't see that. So I saw the NBC News and I think it was one Republican, well, one conservative channel and NBC News both had his approval ratings climbing. What do you think about the pardon issue? And what's that going to do to the markets?
Oh, this auto pen thing?
Yeah,
Yeah, this is a big deal because it's not just the pardons. It is the pardons, but it's that natural gas thing that Biden did, where he said to Johnson, "I did that. I don't remember that." That puts into question everything that the auto pen signed. And you know, you could go to the Supreme Court on this. I don't know how long that's going to take, but it's a question. Was a presidential order valid if he didn't sign it? And how do you prove that he didn't sign it or did sign it? I guess they can wake him up and say this, and he'll read something. So he'll read the script, your name, and he'll say, "Yeah, I did it," and that's that. That's the end of that. I don't see how they can valid or prove this case.
invalidated. Yeah. It's going to be interesting if Trump and the Trump DOJ does go after the January 6th committee, the Biden family. It's going to be interesting how that plays out because if you're saying his
Unfavorable.
unfavorables, I think that would ratchet up again. You know,
Yeah, and how did the markets take that?
that was my next question.
Yeah, yeah.
It's, it puts
If
the
if
country
any of
even more.
these executive orders that he signed are questioned in terms of their veracity and gives Trump a leg to reverse them, you know, where do you where, we're in uncharted territory here.
Every
We've never
day.
been here before. I don't remember ever seeing this.
Every day. We did get a couple of comments last week to one of the shows that we did, and I think you mentioned something where we haven't seen this in the last 40 years. We haven't seen this since Eisenhower was president. And somebody responded back. One of the comments was, "We could go back to Teddy Roosevelt. We haven't seen this, you know." Yeah,
Yeah, in some cases, that's true.
yeah, yeah. It really is a very different world. And my point was, Trump, the ego of Trump wants to be remembered, and he wants to be remembered as the guy who's going to fix all the problems. And
We had a very dear friend, Nick, who had a way of looking at things, and I called him a literalist. It was during the Hurricane Gloria, and he was driving from Staten Island to work, and he stopped at the toll booth. He heard on the radio that he heard on the radio that they were evacuating parts of Staten Island, and the guy stuck out his hand to pay a toll. This was 1985 or something, and he said, "You can't charge me. I'm evacuating as per instructions." And the guy on the toll booth said, "Yeah, well, give me $3 or whatever it was." He says, "I'm not going to give you $3 because you can't tell me to evacuate and then charge me. How do I know you can't do that?" So the guy called his boss, and traffic was backing up all the way to New Jersey. And Nick looked at him and said, "Look, I'm not going to waste your time here, but I got you, you know." And now, when they evacuate, they suspend the tolls. And and Nick was a literalist. He took it and I think we're in that period right now where people are saying, no, read the green card. Read what it says. Literally, We're back to that. This is a literalist time. And Trump seems to be a literalist.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah. The next couple of months are going to be very interesting to see how strong he takes this, how far he can take some of these issues.
Well, he's already bucking. He's running into resistance with I want to say the local federal courts, when they go shopping. And this, to me, is a Supreme Court issue. And it goes up to the Supreme Court. You got to hope everybody stays healthy, and they can actually look at this and analyze this and say, where is the line? What the division of powers, what do they look like here? The legislative branch said this. The executive branch says this. The judicial branch says this at the top, but in different levels they're saying this. So let's adjudicate that. And we're going to be in turmoil on a lot of these issues until that happens.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about the Roberts Supreme Court is putting itself in a very
Yeah.
tough position.
So how does that translate? I could see all the obstetrics on the floor squeaking, twitching like flounders, going, "Buy Vol, buy Vol."
That's it. That's it. As we said earlier, up 600, down 600. I'm not saying buy the VIX, but I'm just saying buy Gamma.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunities. Yeah.
Okay. So I think
All
we're
right.
good.
Yeah, it was a good one. And once again, everyone, please, new subscribers, if you like what you see, please subscribe. New viewers, please subscribe. Give us your comments. Give us your thoughts. We do run a lot of shorts. We try and run a lot of little 30, 45-second clips around this video. We try to do it with each of them. So if you like what you see, please come on, subscribe, ring the bell.
Yeah. Here's a note to one of the viewers who actually watches these things to the end. I can't remember what he questioned, but I did say, I responded to him and said, well, we'll talk about that in the future. So I'm trying to reread the comments to find out what it is we're supposed to talk about. If you know, Freddie, we'll introduce that.
Yeah, we'll pull it up and we'll get to that next
Okay.
time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good week.
Take care.